Hi, everyone. Welcome to another one of our live streams. We're doing performance this week for the permit launch week. Hello to everybody who is joining us right now. Um, Now, let me just share. We have a detailed blog describing all of the things that we're going to be talking about today. The QR is right now on the screen. There will also be a raffle for this wonderful custom permit keyboard. So if you haven't signed up for that raffle already, you just need to be signed for the Luma live stream. I'm going to put the QR for that on the screen right now as well. If you haven't signed up already, please do so now. You can see it on the top left of the screen under Luma live stream. And without further ado, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Daniel, and pleasure to be here with everyone. Quick introductions on our side. So, just speaking was Daniel Bass, one of our community and leaders and technical writer, and I'm Or Weiss, co-founder, CEO at Permit, and software engineer by training. And with me is Ellie Moskovich, directly from the tundras of Canada. Ellie leads DevOps at Permit. And I'm really excited to talk with you all today and share with you this segment of the launch week that will focus on performance, as Daniel said. And without further ado, maybe we'll start with a little bit of slides, and then we'll proceed to some technical content, features, and we'll wrap things up with a live demo. So as we said, we're going to focus on performance today, and we're going to touch on three key new features that we've released recently for Permit: critical updates, offline mode, and our logs forwarder. With critical updates, we'll also cover some technical discussion around consistency. One of the biggest questions around access control. When you manage data, when you have one central image for your authorization layer, when you have elements at the edge, how do you basically balance those? And we'll jump straight into that. So consistency. There are generally two main types of consistency that you can have for any system. Full consistency, meaning that the entire system at any point in time is fully consistent, meaning that no matter which part of the system you talk to, you get the same context, the same state of data, meaning that data is managed within the system to propagate into a uniform state, so you know that all the parts of the system are aligned. Obviously, something like that is costly. You need to make sure that all the different parts are synchronized. The alternative that is mostly put on the table is eventual consistency, meaning you have different parts and they'll all end up being consistent with one another, but they're not consistent from the start and at every moment in time. That obviously has the advantage of having less overhead to manage your data and flow within the system, but you have the challenge of essentially race conditions or deltas of data between the different parts of the system. One of the biggest things that end up being discussed when we talk about consistency with authorization layers is the new enemy problem. With the new enemy problem, you're talking about a state where a new actor or a new identity that appears in the system suddenly is in an inconsistent state. For example, we have an employee and they, up to a point, were allowed to do different things against the system, and then we revoke their permissions. But suddenly they're a new enemy because they're revoking their permissions hasn't propagated to all the nodes in the system. So now we need to consider them like a new enemy, and we need to make sure that we don't allow them to access things. Obviously, if we're worried about that problem, and if the rate of change for us is potentially slow, eventual consistency might be problematic. So as we're designing authorization systems, we need to ask ourselves what things are critical that they'll be fully consistent, and what things can be eventually consistent. And where are the key points where new enemies and new friction points can arise that can affect our security model as we're building our consistency. Usually, when talking about these different systems, you'd find that in the two main camps that we have today, in our Google Zanzibar graph-based camp, you aim for the full consistency. So you have one huge graph that tries to make sure that all the data is propagated, and every time you query it, you have snapshots that allow you to make sure that you're consistent with the rest of the system. And usually, agents like OPA and Cedar that are deployed at the edge have more of eventual consistency. And as we kind of touch on these have pros and cons. But up till now, usually we would force to choose. We either go with the full consistency model or the eventual consistency model, and we end up working with just the pros and cons that each of them has. But here with Permit, that where we really focus on trying to give you the best of all worlds, we have also come up with the mixed option that is seamlessly integrated into the system. So first of all, in Permit, we mix both authorization as graph, Google Zanzibar, and policy as code. So we have in Permit itself in the cloud, a huge Google Zanzibar-like cloud that we manage for you. And on the PDPs that we deploy, you have policy as code agents that can run all the different types of policies and work completely locally with the data that is loaded into them. In general, we call this the Opal architecture. Opal, our open source project, is responsible to sync between the cloud, the Opal server, and each of the Opal clients that are deployed as PDPs, policy decision points at the edge. And that in general gives you the ability of having the huge graph and all the capabilities of iterating on it, but having efficient, zero latency, high availability agents at the edge. And now something that we've added on top of this is the concept of critical updates. Critical updates is our way to enable you to do mixed consistency according to what you need without breaking a sweat. The idea goes like this. So we have the basic permit cloud and various data sources that we load into your authorization microservice, the PDP, the policy decision point that lives on your side of the network, in which your application connects to answer authorization queries, both indices and reverse indices. And the cloud and different sources propagate their state into these microservices for authorization. This is already great because we can scale with a lot of microservices on our side without being too dependent on the state of the cloud. And we have zero latency or very low latency between the microservice and the app. And we have high availability regardless of the state of the cloud. This microservice can continue to function even if the cloud and other data sources are down. It always answers from its own local cache and storage. But now what happens if we want to have some interactions that require full consistency? Usually when updates propagate from the permit cloud to this microservice, it takes on average at P95 around 100 milliseconds. For most cases, that's enough and you don't care. But there are some cases where you might run into race conditions or you might worry about the new enemy problem. So how do we address this? We address this with the new feature called critical updates, which is basically full consistency for specific things on demand. We allow you to create an update to the system at your app or at any other service, have it propagate to your microservice for authorization, propagate back to the cloud, and wait for it to sync back. So when you get the update back, you know that your application, your microservice for authorization, is in sync with the huge graph in the cloud that basically is always in full consistency. So you can now apply updates and wait for them to happen, and only after they happen, and you can, by the way, you can wait synchronously or asynchronously in them. We also have callbacks. But you can wait for the consistency to complete and then take more actions. So for example, you can add a user and make sure that that user is synced with all its roles and attributes in permit before you do anything else. And this is also great when you work in a load balance situation where you might have multiple instances of your application or multiple instances of your PDPs. When you start to do those actions, you can know that all the other PDPs are also in line with the state that you've decided to propagate. And this is as simple as calling a function. So now we have a feature called wait for sync. You basically call to it to create a promise. Here we're seeing a code example in Python, but this is also available in our other SDKs, and we're adding more SDKs as needed. And this is available for multiple functions that we have. So syncing user, creating a user, assigning a role, etc. So we can make this call, and we can wait for it to complete and go full circle from the cloud to our microservice and against our app. So we basically, this is in our app, and we're waiting for the microservice to call back to us saying, you're good to go. And this can obviously be both synchronized, as we do here, or asynchronized. We're getting a promise and we're executing on it in a separate thread. So this is the critical updates feature. By the way, we encourage you to ask questions. You can ask questions both on different platforms that you're at, in Zoom in the comments, in YouTube in the comments as well. So if you type in your questions, we'll also address them. Probably we'll try and do all of those at the end, but still ask questions, and would love to double click on anything. All right, so this was the critical updates feature and the new ability to have full consistency on demand, and basically have mixed consistency as you need, and not have to choose a day one if you're going to have full or eventual. And now you can enjoy all of the pros and suffer from basically no cons. Amazing. Let's move on. Our next new released feature on the list is the PDP offline mode. This one has been asked for, I don't know for how long, really at the top of the list for a lot of our customers. The idea essentially is the ability to take a policy decision point, that microservice for authorization, and save its state to disk and allow it to spin back up from that saved state. So you can save both the state of the policy and the state of the configuration and data. And you can restore from there at any moment in time. And the idea here, this is useful for multiple things. It's useful for creating baseline for PDPs as they start up, before, so they have a state that you can start to query even before they connect back to the cloud. This is useful for being able to work in situations where the cloud is not available, or where you have network issues, or that there's a current issue with the connectivity internal, like AWS is down, for example. So this is essentially enables you to make sure that your PDPs are always up to task. They're always able to answer queries regardless of the state of the cloud at all. So even if you have zero connectivity, or if the connectivity fails, you can still control the state of your PDPs. You can still spin up new PDPs, and you can also synchronize the state between them easily, just by managing files and configuring your PDPs to work with them. To enable your PDPs to work in offline mode, it's basically just one environment variable and configuration of where you set the backup. That's it. It's as simple. And we do all the heavy lifting for you. And the cool thing is that you are not forced to just choose to work from backup or to work from cloud. Like with a lot of our philosophy, also as we've seen with the critical updates, you can mix and match. So you can have a PDP spin up starting from its base state, and then when it connects to the cloud, update on the fly to the most recent state. And you can also imagine using this, for example, as part of your CI/CD for testing, for example. So if you want to do tests on a PDP, you don't want to have the PDP connect to the cloud as part of the CI/CD flow. That might be too cumbersome, too slow for something that needs to be very quick, like CI/CD test. So you can have the PDP ready with its state, so it spins up and you can start querying it immediately. So there's a lot of advantages, and I'm sure also a lot of things that we haven't even thought of what is possible to do with this new feature. But it's finally available and super easy to use, and it's covered in our docs. And there's also additional configurations on where you store the information, and how you connect this with Opal, and how you manage the connectivity against the cloud in different states. So really a great feature, and something that I know that a lot of customers have been clamoring for. So I'm super excited that we finally have it on the table for all of you to enjoy. Um, cool. So now let's move to our third feature and topic for today, and that would be our logs forwarder. This is part of the performance aspect of monitoring your system, being able to get our logs and decision logs, our audit logs, back into the usual systems where we want our logs to be at, and have that as cloud native as possible. And for this part of the flow, we'll have Ellie both covering the topic and, best of all, doing a live demo of this feature. So I'm excited for it, and I'm sure you guys are as well. And Ellie, take it away.
Thank you, Or. Hello, everyone. So I will share my screen. Just a minute. Okay, hope you able to see my screen. And let's start. So I will talk about the log forwarder feature. This feature is actually coming to solve a use case that we want to forward PDP decision logs to some hosted Elasticsearch, or it can be also anything else. Currently, we are supporting only Elasticsearch hosted. So yeah, this magic is can be possible because of the Fluentbit. This is the tool that we decided to move forward, and this is really lightweight tool. It's a highly scalable logging and metrics processor and forwarder. Um, I will show you our permit IO PDP repo, and currently it's also supporting only in Kubernetes. And let's see our chart, and I will explain you a little bit about how the deployment is going on. So there is the PDP container that everybody knows. And once we enable this feature, there is another container, which is a sidecar container. And this is the Fluentbit. The Fluentbit have shared volume with the PDP, and with the config map, we can config where it's going to forward the logs. So if we will go to the values, it's you can just change the type from SCD out, which is actually for testing purpose, to Elasticsearch. And after it, just you will need to insert the host, the cloud authentication, and the index that you want this will show up. And let's see a demo. So as you can see, I have changed it to Elasticsearch. And after that, you insert the host, the cloud authentication, and the index, which is Fluentbit. We can move forward and enable it. And let's see it in the demo. So I made a little script to which making a permit check. It's making permit check like every second. So we will be able to see it in a minute, just a minute. Okay. Okay. So we can see that the logs was forwarded to Fluentbit, as I configured before, and we can see all the logs that streaming to here. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. And Ellie, can you share a little bit more about Fluent Bit? I think like it's a very common cloud native tool, but what was leading us to kind of choose that over like FileBeat or something else?
Yeah, so FluentBit is part of the family of the FluentD also. It's like the little brother of him. FluentD is actually using for another purpose, and it's much more heavy than FluentBit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the reason that we have choose to use the FluentBit. And also, this is a CNCF official tool, which means that this is open source tool, and it's a leading tool in the logs forward world. So yeah.
So essentially, it was a classic choice, sticking to standards. I mean,
Right.
yeah, cool. Makes a ton of sense. Um, yeah. Daniel, do we have any questions from the audience?
Nothing as of yet. I will update you if I see anything,
All
but
right.
not yet.
All right. So we're basically coming to a close here. And I will cover that you can also ask us questions later. So a great way to kind of connect with us is via our Slack channel. So if you go to this link, io.permit.io/Slack, you'll get right there. Or if you go to our website and click on the Slack icon, and it's really a very vivid and big community at this point. So it's a great place to both ask questions and see what other people are asking. And especially if you're going to use any of these new features, if you're going to use critical updates, or if you're going to use the offline mode, or if you're going to use the log forwarder, and you're like looking at our docs and you're saying, I'm not sure, how am I supposed to use that? Or is this environment variable the right way? Or am I using the right Helm chart? Uh, just don't think twice about it. Just jump on Slack, send us a message, and we'll do our best to help you. Um, and especially if you have feedback on these new features, that I'd encourage you twice as much to jump in and share. These are new capabilities; they're production ready and already being used in production, by the way, by multiple customers. Um, but we're still shaping them. We're still adding more capabilities. For example, with the critical updates, we're adding more API call options that you can wrap with the critical updates feature. With the offline mode, we're looking at how you can manage the different files better and how you can have better orchestration on top of the feature. So any request, ideas, thoughts, we always love those, and we'd especially love those around these new features. Um, and aside from our Slack community, we also have you have the ability to schedule a meeting with us. There's a form on our website, but also you can just go directly to the Calendly link. So that will be calendly.com/permit.io. And you can choose the type of meeting if you want to have a technical meeting, if you want to talk to our sales, if you would just want to have an introduction to Permit. You just pick a time and we show up. So a lot of times it's also myself. I love engaging with our customers. So if you enjoyed seeing me speak here, you can have more of that. Also, if you don't, just pick a different type of meeting, and you can avoid meeting me, especially in dark hallways and in situations that you don't want. And yeah, I think this, unless we have questions, I think this would be our scheduled programming for this webinar.
Well, except for the winner for our today's
Oh,
raffle.
right.
Yeah, the best part. So we have our beautiful custom permit keyboard. It's shiny.
It is.
And let me just ask GPT who won today. So just 1 second. Okay. And our winner for today is Michael. Congratulations, Michael. Please let us know. Well, like your details, and we'll send it over to you.
Also, let us know if you
Congratulations.
want the keyboard assembled or split into bits.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
All right, that's our up for today.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed our launch week in general and our session today. And I look forward to hearing more from all of you.